I am so ready.
Okay. Hi, beautiful souls. Welcome to our very first episode of Dear 20-Year-Old Me. I'm one of your hosts, Debbie Ng.
And I'm Dominic Finley, co-host and resident weirdo.
We're recording this after an incredible and very much needed trip to Sedona, Arizona. We were surrounded by red rocks, juniper trees, and a sky that was actually listening to us while the ground vibrated beneath our feet.
Oh yeah, like we went for healing, for connection, and to really ground into what we wanted this podcast to be about. We wanted the energy to carry through every episode, every story, every piece or nugget of wisdom we have to be nothing less than the truth, tenderness, and a little woo-woo and magic. But above all, sound advice based on our own experiences and those of our guests who wish to share and be here as well.
So this podcast is for anyone who's ever looked back at their younger self, like Dominique and I have, and said, baby,
Oh God,
you got no idea what's coming. We lived a little. Okay, we lived a lot. We've healed a lot more. And we've realized that we have some things we wish anyone had told us at 20. Things we still need to hear even now.
So what are we doing? We are writing letters to our 20-year-old selves, to yours, and to the parts of us still learning how to trust, love, and grow. This is your invitation to join us for real talk about everything: life, trauma, spiritual detours, self-worth, dating, relationships. The relationships that are romantic and platonic, because let's be honest, like relationships are multifaceted, kaleidoscopic, crazy rainbows of things, right? But like, we just want to dive deep into all of that. Also, finances, because, it costs a lot to live this life.
Okay, so why Sedona?
Oh. Yeah, no, that was my question to you. Why did we go to Sedona, Deb? Why did we end up there?
Oh my God, because something inside of us said go, and we felt the call. I feel like we went there a couple years ago, and I feel like both of us were honestly having the call to go back to a specific place, to the place that strips you down to your soul. Like, I see your pain, and I got red dirt and energy vortexes to hold it all.
Oh my God. I love that you said that, because literally like that trip for me was just about like everything was just about letting go. Like this last year was a rotating wheel of karmic lessons, I feel. And now that I've walked through them, parts of those lessons are like still kind of lingering a little bit. So going to Sedona really helped Tetris it, I guess, for me together. And the shoulda, coulda, wouldas of a lot of things that I had tried to do or could have done, or the if onlys. I started really diving into therapy before we left, and I was speaking to my friends, but I was still asking myself, like, what still needs healing? Like, what are those things that are still haunting me? What parts of myself did I just bury just to survive? I mean, we've all done that. We've all have done that. But Sedona really made me slow down, breathe in the warm air, soak up the sun, and just be. And according to the list of things that we were supposed to have just done and be done, we actually found a lot more adventures. We sat in sound baths, cried under the stars. What else did we do?
We talked to psychics, and for the first time ever, Dominique and I did a reading together, which was so cool. And we'll talk about that more later, but like that was a really cool thing that we did together. We breathed together. We sat in sacred spaces. We literally vibrated together with the earth, and we're creating a circle and building a circle together. And if you're listening, you're in it with us.
That is for sure. You click play. You're here with us. So you chose this for some reason. So I guess aside from, saying the why, we should say the who. Like, who the hell are we? And we should probably introduce ourselves.
Good idea. All right. I'm Debbie. Blessed to be a Hawaii resident, big-hearted, deeply spiritual, and a little sassy. Well, maybe a lot sassy. I work in education by day and write books, journals, and now podcasting by the moonlight.
And I'm Dominique, nomad, teacher, healer, writer, truth teller, fully here for all the messy magic.
We're besties.
We're writers and deep, deep feelers. We created this podcast to connect with you, teach, and to learn from you, because we are hoping that we will get a lot of listener letters that you would like to read to yourselves, maybe for the benefit of others, but also just understand that when we get these, listener letters, it's also for us too, because that kind of unlocks something within us that helps us learn more, dive deeper on some bigger topics.
Let's go back to who we were, to understand who we're becoming.
Okay. So just for some background, Deb and I met while we were both teaching in Hawaii. I've lived on and off the island for forever. And I first started my teaching career back in 2016. And I was teaching at Waianae High School. Loved it, was learning a lot, especially from my students. And one day, a mutual friend of ours introduced us, and it was kind of just instant click. Like she and I started talking. We couldn't stop talking, found out we had a lot in common. We liked the same things. We talked about the same things, and it was instant friendship. So that same mutual friend and the two of us were on a Zoom call about 4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah, it was in the end of 2024 sometime, right at the end.
Okay, so that's right. Okay, yeah. So I think it was like a New Year's thing, right? Weren't we talking
Yeah,
New Year's?
November. It was November because it was before, or was it after?
Okay, so I don't remember. That's why I'm just like, oh, okay. Either way, it doesn't matter. The idea came from our Zoom call, and I just remember we were talking about relationships. I was in a really weird relationship dynamic with somebody, and
Yes,
the
it was
lingering
January.
effects of it. Yeah. Oh, it was January. That's right. Yes. Evil January. So we were having this big conversation about it, and our mutual friend Bella and Deb and I were having this conversation, and they were both just trying to give me a lot of advice on like where to go next, how to move on. And it just hit me in the midst of this Zoom call while I'm watching my two best friends on the screen speak life into me. And I just thought, wouldn't it be great if we just had this wonderful round table of women who could speak love, just infuse their own lessons and experiences with advice to give to other women who might be going through the same thing, but to also speak of it from an experienced point of view. Like, if you were in my shoes, what would you do? If I were in your shoes, what would you do? And then what would younger you say about all of that?
Yeah.
And
And
then
I
that's when I floated the idea. And
and it
Deb was like,
resonated so deeply because we work with teenagers. And so I know how many of them ask me, Miss, what would you have done? What would you have said? How would you have done this? And I'm like, so we kind of already do this as educators. And then we
oh,
still
yeah.
realize we were doing this for each other. And like, well, why not build women up, get women together, create circles? Not that men can't listen to this. Of course they can. You're welcome to know our little
Mhm.
secrets and maybe treat us really good because of it. But also like always empowering women to empower other women, I think felt so good. It just, I don't know. It really resonated when you brought it up. And I was like, yes, that's it. That's the magic, Dominique.
Yeah. No, it was just, I feel like as an educator, it is important that when a student comes to you and asks you advice, you keep that distance, right? You're like, okay, like I have a job to do. We have to keep this professional, but also there's that fine line of when you were a struggling teenager, who did you go to speak to if you couldn't talk to your mom, if you couldn't talk to your dad, or you couldn't talk to your friends because maybe they just weren't there maturity level wise? Like, who would you go to? And I still have students who come to me for advice on things. And I have those kids reach out to me on Instagram and Facebook and, TikTok. Sometimes they find me and they're like, oh, that one talk you gave me really changed a lot of the way I look at things, or the fact that, you didn't judge me when I asked you these questions. And it's the same thing with friendships. It's like, merge the two, and you might not know us personally, but at the same time, hopefully you can learn from our experience and you can see yourself in that growth mindset of, okay, I did this thing and it sucked, or this thing happened to me and it sucked, but what did I learn from it? What is it trying to teach me? And through us and through this podcast, I'm hoping we can get more advice and lessons and love in front of people and build a circle, build a community of very much like-minded people, or people who've gone through certain, aspects of life and need direction
Yeah.
and
I
friendship.
think it's a really important time to bring women together in the most uplifting and powerful ways because
For sure.
it just feels important right now more than any other time since I've been alive that women come together as one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And as writers, I mean, that's another thing, right? We're always enmeshed in story and writing story and creating story and learning from stories. That is a big, huge aspect for me. Like, there are times where I'm just walking around at the store or something, and I just hear this couple walking past me and they're having a conversation, and just that little snippet of things, I'm like, I think I can kind of guess what's going on there, and but it helps you to kind of create this I don't know, narrative in your head that, everybody's living their lives and they're all out there doing and being and all of the things. And I know when I turn podcasts on myself, when I'm on the way to work or something, it's just I'm looking for a voice that resonates, that's not about, well, here, let me sell you this thing, or here, let me tell you this thing that's going to uplevel your life in so many ways. No, I just want to hear other people's stories and experiences. I know I'm not alone.
Yeah, not alone. And as much as we want to help you all, we want you to help us too. So that's why the interaction is really important for everybody, because Dominique and I are not just teachers, we're also learners, like really big learners.
Mm.
So in this episode, we're going to read our letters to our 20-year-old selves. They're pretty raw.
Well, first, we're going to start with Deb's letter, though. And then in the next episode, we're going to run into mine because mine is taking longer than it should.
They are going to be real, and they might make you laugh and ugly cry because they did that for us.
But first, let's take a deep breath. You made it here. You pressed play, like I said, and you're still here. And that's no accident.
All right.
So, Deb, would you like to read your letter?
Oh, I would. I might cry, so don't judge me.
And nobody's going to judge you.
This is from myself in Sedona. I wrote this. Hey, babe. I know you're probably sitting on the beach right now, staring at the ocean like it's going to give you answers. You've got salt in your hair, fire in your belly, and a million questions in your heart. Let's start with this. You make it. Not without scars, but damn it, you make it. At 20, you're in love with Hawaii, like in love with Hawaii. And that's real. But let's talk about the men you're chasing, the surfers, the Polynesian boys. You thought all that island energy you thought would save you from the white boy weirdness you grew up with. You thought being wanted meant being worthy. You thought love meant having someone next to you so you wouldn't feel alone. And girl, I wish I could hold your hand and say that's not love, that's fear in a pretty dress. You moved too fast, got serious too soon. You got engaged, married, and then annulled. You confused chaos with connection. You had no idea what a red flag was, much less how to run from it. But now you know love doesn't hurt. Love doesn't break your spirit. Love builds. And if it doesn't, it is not love. Let's talk about you, not them. At 20, you did not think you were lovable. Not really. You thought if someone wanted your body, your time, your attention, it meant you mattered. But listen to me now. Other people's opinions of you do not define your value. Your mom couldn't love you the way you needed. Your brother played the saint. And you carried that pain like an armor. But sweet girl, it was never about you being bad. It was about them not knowing how to hold your magic. You were a rebel wrapped in people pleasing, wild, angry, confused, and never let anyone see how soft you really were. You had no idea what boundaries even meant. Saying no felt dangerous, maybe even unthinkable. But now you know that no is a complete sentence, and you say it like a damn queen. Didn't want to grow up? You were Peter Pan with a surfboard, chasing adrenaline instead of purpose. You waited out tsunami warnings on Waikiki Beach, like life was a game. And honestly, that part of you, the one who said fuck it and lived in the moment, she's still in you. She keeps you young. Because now you're a teacher, a healer, a writer, a woman who understands that freedom doesn't come from chaos. It comes from choosing peace. I'm going to say that again because I need to hear it again. Freedom doesn't come from chaos. It comes from choosing peace. You were carrying so much at 20. Sexual trauma, emotional abandonment, arrest records, rage, shame, so much shame. You even know healing was a thing. You thought a rush, a hookup, or a risky night was a cure. But I want you to know healing is real. And one day you'll drink the medicine of the jungle and sit in the presence of your ancestors. You will hear God in sound bowls. You will weep into the earth and feel held. That healing journey, you're already on it. And baby, it was never your fault. Not the abuse, not the silence, not your mother looking the other way. You deserve protection. You deserved safety. And now you're the one who gets to protect you. And you're so damn good at it. Your body, she's sacred. She's not here for sex or attention. She's your home. And your soul, the part of you that always whispered to God in the closet at the age of 3. She never left. So keep that faith. Keep talking to God. Stay away from the judgment, the organized rules. You were made for spirit, not religion. You've always known the difference. Oh, and one more thing. You're going to write books, like actual books and journals, and you're going to help people heal with your words. Don't you dare stop. Don't you dare give up. I love you. I forgive you. And I'm so fucking proud of you. Love, future you. Oh, I need,
Oh my God.
oh,
That was like being on a movie journey.
that was like time travel therapy. For real. For real. Oh,
That was super incredible and so honest. Like, can I also say brave? Like, that is a lot to unpack and acknowledge about what was missing and where you found the courage to say, yeah, this isn't for me. Like, that was a lot.
it
Wow.
was a lot to live through, too. It's a long journey, honestly.
So,
And
no, go.
I mean, I just reading it, like I can see little Debbie, like some people used to call me like those snacky things people eat. I could see that just crying, just like someone tell me I'm going to be safe, you know?
Yeah. Do you want to, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right. Just, it's just a lot. I mean, I can see all the things that happen to me, in my head, like
Right.
when I'm saying it. And I'm like, fuck, I actually made it.
You did.
I didn't think I would, honestly,
So do you
but
think younger Debbie would be confused yet proud of who you became?
younger Debbie would be stupefied. Like, first of all, I wouldn't have thought I made it past 25. And second of all, I hated school so much. I can't imagine the idea of spending the rest of my life in a school, like working, because I hated everything about it. So I think younger Debbie would be like, what's he lying? That's not true.
No, that's I think hearing your letter and just like I'm trying to process everything. It's that was okay. So I think when I'm listening along to your letter and hearing all this, like it goes by so fast, right? Because it's obviously it's a letter and it's very much in the moment. But I think what hit and resonated with me the most was your the line. I think it went like you thought being wanted meant being worthy. You thought love meant having someone next to you so you wouldn't feel alone. Like, wow. The I can tell you how many times in my life I felt like I just had to have somebody there with me just so I wouldn't feel alone, but it didn't actually add anything to who I was, what I was doing, what I meant to achieve, and in fact it actually took away from the things that I wanted to do, but that pit of just not wanting to be alone
Yeah.
was that part that just kept me seeking that anyway. I just yeah, I guess it just gave me a better understanding, but also like this again, like that connectedness of just I cannot tell you how many times I felt that exact same way and allowed myself to be carried by that mindset and belief like worthy doesn't equal being wanted. And I think that you encapsulated that perfectly.
I really thought that. I mean, I remember two distinct things that came to me when I wrote that was I was a waitress in Waikiki Sizzler and I loved it. I'm dating myself here, but I
I
made
was about to
big
say that was a
money.
while ago.
Yes. So I made big money. And then I had this surfer boyfriend, North Shore surfer boyfriend who would come. He started coming on Friday and Saturday nights and sitting in the corner and eating salad bar and soup the whole night. And it was just to watch me. And I thought, oh, he loves me so much. He's not going anywhere on Friday and Saturday
Wait, wait,
night.
wait, wait, wait. To watch you.
Yes, to watch me
You
work.
mean like to like surveillance you just to make sure you're not going anywhere?
I mean, I think to make sure I wasn't flirting with people and how I was making so much money.
Ew.
Yes, but
Okay.
at the time, the ooh was like, oh, look, he's not going out with his friends on Friday and
Yeah.
Saturday. You're watching me, giving up his whole weekend to be with me. So idiotic, the thought process, right? To realizing until I finally started like getting less tips, like it started to be it started to be horrifying. It was bad and got out of the relationship. And you would think I learned, but no, I got to another relationship And I got a job with Aloha Airlines. And that was when it was like, oh, I was going to be a flight attendant. And you got to put the leis around people's neck because it was a big thing. It was like different than Hawaiian Airlines. So
Oh
there's
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
more
yeah.
making her thing, right? And my boyfriend wouldn't let me take the job, but different boyfriend wouldn't let me take the job. And he was just telling me how he couldn't handle me kissing another guy in the cheek. And I thought that was love. I thought that was like, oh, he loves me so much. Like, no, it was not love. These things were control, and the attention and the, oh, somebody's next has to be next to me all the time was like terrible. Like it was huge screaming red flags, which at the time I thought were green, 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 green. I didn't even know what a flag was back then, honestly.
Did any of us? No. We were force fed 80s and 90s romance movies thinking that, like, to catch the guy was the end all be all goal of every woman's life, to have the prince, to have the guy, to have the future ahead of you. But they don't do the after the fairy tale is over storylines for us. So we don't know.
Yep.
But that, okay. So what you just said, like, totally resonated because I had a friend in high school, great friend. She and her boyfriend started dating, I think, her junior year. And we just thought they were the perfect couple because they were always so deeply in love. And every time they were together, they would jive. It was perfect. It was like, oh, that's the ideal, right? Well, fast forward after graduation, she got the amazing opportunity to try out or audition for one of the Disney princess roles at Disneyland or Disney World. I can't remember which one, and landed the spot of Snow White. And that was like her dream. She wanted to do that. She wanted to get off island just for a little bit so she could go and expand a little bit. And he flipped out, would not let her go. And they had been together, I think, at that point, by like for 4 years. They didn't have kids, they didn't get married, but because they were so ingrained with each other, like if he said no, that was it. So she stayed behind and did not go. And I think about that a lot because hearing her tell me that story years later when we met up and like had this little mini reunion, I was so excited when she told me. I said, "Oh my God, what happened?" And she was like, "Yeah, he just wasn't ready to let me go, or he just didn't think it was a good idea because I'd be too far away from him." And I just was astounded. How could you take somebody's opportunity like that away? But, you know, here I am listening to your letter and I'm just like, yeah, okay, so that's a common thread here. Why
It's
do we
hard
get
if you,
duped into that?
you don't grow up knowing what a healthy relationship looks like, or you get berated enough when you're younger, or have that sense of abandonment. All those things I think contribute to it, but it's hard because it's hard to break that. Like when you're young and you're so naive about the world and you don't really understand that that's not love. It's so easy to confuse that like overbearing, smothering. I want to be with you all the time with love, because it's just, I don't know. For me, it was very confusing.
So is it okay? So would you say that that relationship that you're specifically talking about was that more or less like a control issue, or was that more of like an abuse issue? Because it kind of sounds like it goes into both categories.
Oh, yeah. I think control always leads to abuse when it's like,
Oh,
yeah,
for sure.
I think so. And both of those were two different relationships. And I mean, they both ended up being control. The second one turned into the guy, that Aloha Airlines guy, is the one who was at my first marriage that ended up getting annulled. That one turned abusive, and that's why the marriage got annulled. The judge was very
Oh,
sympathetic to my plight of not, no violence until the wedding night, and then it turned very violent. So I was lucky that the judge saw that as, right, the word, like kind of like imposter, but not like fraud, presenting yourself as someone else. The judge
oh,
as fraud, and I was lucky. A lot of testimony. There was a lot of people present, and they all were all willing to go to court and make statements.
okay. So let's go back because I want to definitely know more about that. I mean, like I know some of the story, but like I would really like to know more based on the letter, of course. But I think in your letter there was this moment where you had this, I don't know when I say, I'm like an amazing epiphany almost, where it's like, I mean, I'm paraphrasing here, but like when I'm listening to it and I was just like, oh, that's so good. And oh, that's so good. And oh my God. But there was just that line that you said, you confused chaos with connection. And I find myself telling people that now, where it's like, sometimes the chaos feels more comfortable because that's what you're used to. And peace actually feels like chaos. So it's flipped itself. And I think you also said now you know love doesn't hurt, love doesn't break your spirit, and that love builds. And if it doesn't build, that's not love. And then we're going through the story of all of it, and I just like now I definitely want to know more because that is just such a phenomenal line there about like if it doesn't build, it's not love. So can you like just expand on that for us?
Yeah, well, I think the chaos thing is like the stepping stone to that. Like that's what I thought love was all that drama. Honestly, fight, make up sex is so great. Like that spiral, I was so confused. Like I had more than one domestically violent relationship, so I think I kept
Mhm.
getting drawn back to that. And then I would date someone who was like, after ending a domestically violent relationship, that would next relationship would be someone so opposite, so calm, so quiet, no passion. Like there's no such thing as makeup sex because there's not really any fighting. And then I'm like, now while I'm a huge fan of fighting, but I do think if you agree on every single thing, I think that's just kind of strange. Like there has to be some debate, some discussion, some passion, some something. But I would date someone who it was just like flat with. And then I started thinking about that. Like, was that love? Because it was calm and peaceful and quiet. And then I got bored and there was something wrong with me. But I was like, no,
Mm.
because nothing was built in the relationship. Like it was just a relationship for the sake of a relationship. I didn't
Like a
feel like I
plateau,
became a
like
better
you just
person.
hit a
Yeah. Like I didn't
okay.
become a better person. I'm sure he didn't become a better person. And so did anything build? Did we build anything together? No. Like it wasn't, I feel like, and honestly, I'm saying this in a like, I've only had a couple super healthy relationships and I'm not in one now because like orange flags or like little tiny not green is like I'm out. I have so much peace
Yeah.
in my life right now and calmness and the ability to travel whenever I want to and spend my time however I want and there's no drama or chaos and I think I need to learn to live without all that for a while before I even think about building. But I think the healthiest relationship that I had, I feel like we built each other, like we taught each other. Like I learned so much. I learned a lot of Portuguese. I learned Brazilian Portuguese. I learned forró dancing. I learned we built each other up a lot and like shared cultures and shared words and shared stories. And it was a different relationship. And unfortunately, he passed away. And so that's a whole nother story that I'm still not super ready to talk about. But I think a love like that would be a love that I would search for, that we're building each other up and giving each other things and teaching each other things and growing in different ways.
But it also sounds like you expanded. And I think that is also one of those really extraordinary angles of relationships that you know that like you're not just building something, but you're expanding outward, right? Like it's and I totally get what you're saying. It's like if you have that great relationship where you're not, I don't know, you like the same things, you guys are doing the same things, but there's nothing being built in between all of that. You're just kind of like plateauing, like, okay, we're here for the same ride, I guess. Like that's great. But I mean, you're learning from each other, you're expanding each other. There's so many lessons going into that expansion that you're a different person when you come out of it. I think that's the relationship that everybody should be, trying to attain.
Yeah. I always thought love would fix me, but now I know that I have to fix myself. And when I fix myself, love can build, together. Two people can build each other. But when people got to be fixed, I don't think I'm 100% fixed. And I know that's a silly word to say, but maybe the right word is healed. I'm not fully enough
Yeah.
healed. I'm ready.
Yeah, there's a great Mumford and Sons lyric that basically it sounds almost Shakespearean, I guess, where they're basically saying love should only build you. Mumford and Sons says love will not betray you, dismay you, or enslave you. It will set you free. Be more like the man you were made to be. And hearing you and that, oh, like it's not building anything, it's not going anywhere, there's no lessons being had. But it's tearing you down. It's forcing you to come back. It's forcing you to make up with it. It's forcing you to be friends with abuse. It's forcing you to be friends with pain. It is forcing you to wrap that up with a bow and call it love. That is that is definitely not it. So what I guess my next question on that, like based on your letter, what would have been a great like, I guess, stop sign for yourself at 20 when you're going through all of this? What should have been said to you? Who could have said anything to you at that time? Would you have listened?
I had this one friend when I was yeah, right around 19 or 20. She was older. She was like 30 something. She was an actress and a hula dancer.
Mm.
Beautiful, beautiful. I used to take pictures with birds sometimes for her. She had her own business and she danced hula. And anyway, she had these big macaws and toucans. And I would go on postcards in my bathing suit and take pictures with tourists on the beach and make extra money because I didn't want to work. I just wanted to surf. And anyway, I would listen to her a lot. She already had a daughter and she had had a daughter at like 15 or 16. And there's an old movie called North Shore. And in the end of that movie is her little daughter, Asia.
I that
Yeah, the
show.
little girl.
Yeah.
So it was her daughter Asia. And I listened to her a lot. She did give me a lot of good advice. And then I don't know, she disappeared. Like Waikiki was so transitory back then, and just surfing and hanging out. And there wasn't cell phones and Instagram and no way to keep in touch with people. But if I would have had her longer in my life than a couple of years, I think I probably would have listened to her a lot more. But it would have had to be another female that went through my shit, that wouldn't judge me, that I would feel like wouldn't judge me and would just give it to me real. Because, sometimes people, for me, I don't like fake, silly, yeah, that's a good idea. That's not, I just want to hear it. Like, you're an idiot, Debbie. What are you fucking doing with this guy? I want to hear that. Like, that's the only thing that's going to wake me up. Then there's someone saying, well, I'm not sure if he's the right guy. What do you think? No, just say, like, he's a shithead, Like, I think she's
Yeah.
probably the reason I broke up with the guy in the restaurant, you know? Probably her that gave me the strength to do that. It's just really hard to remember so long ago, but I remember talking to her about him and her just being like, ew, like, that's not a good thing. Like, no wonder you're losing tips. It's probably making faces at people, and like telling me stuff I didn't think about. But there's probably not anyone else I would have listened to. I wasn't really good at listening to people, obviously. I was pretty rebellious.
So, do you think if you had shown up just in the magic of time travel, you showed up in front of yourself to, you know, waylay all of their beliefs or understandings about young Debbie, do you think you would have listened to yourself or do you think you would have continued on?
There's no way. I'd never have listened to myself. I would have thought I was high or like, I would have never listened to myself. And to be honest with you, I would have I would stop myself from doing that because I can gratitude all that shit because I wouldn't be a good teacher and counselor and all that if I haven't walked through the pits of hell with relationships and in a lot of other ways in life I walked through the pits of hell and I think that I needed that experience to build empathy. I wouldn't want to be walking around as an adult without a ton of empathy and I feel like I have a lot of empathy and that's why because I did go through all that shit.
Yeah. I think that is the number one reason why I feel it is important to have friends who are older, wiser, experienced. You might not have empathy for yourself at that moment because you feel like either you made a mistake or somebody else did something to you. So why did they choose to do that to you? Well, it must be because you're a piece of shit, whatever, right? It's like so many of us walk around with these wounds of just, I must have deserved this in some way. It's so hard to get out of that mindset sometimes, especially because if you're raised by parents who are either emotionally disconnected or just not there, it's so hard to get that direction from yourself. So having somebody who's been there, done that, and have lived that to come show up in front of you and speak life into you in your darkest, meanest, most self-critical moments to save you from that is important, but at the same time, it's, but it's very telling just of like who you were when you were younger, that even if your older self showed up to say like, okay, listen, bitch, we got some things we need to talk about, first of all. And you're just like, I don't think so. I'm going to do my thing.
I would have risen that middle finger up like, no, you're crazy. Get out of here. Yeah.
Fake news. This
Especially
isn't real.
Yeah, fake news. I really thought no, I literally thought I would not live past 25. So I would have been like, yeah, okay, that's a ghost. And that's maybe time to go now.
Okay, so this is the second time you said that. Why do you feel like you wouldn't have lived to 25? What was going on that, I mean, we're
I mean, I
here.
was an adrenaline junkie, like for real adrenaline junkie. Like I
Oh,
worked when I was young. I would ride it. I would jump over like 3, 4, 5 feet just to challenge because she would sometimes get scared and like stop right into the jump and I would fly and I didn't wear a helmet and I for a while they called me, what was my nickname? Crash, because I would race the train and cross over the track and come within inches of getting smashed by the train because I grew up in Florida. There was a train. No, literally, like I didn't have a plan to live past 25. I didn't like being on planet Earth. And I was the direct opposite of my brother, who was very scared all the time. Like, what if this car backs out and hits us? Like, he wanted to be alive so much that like he was worried about everything. And I was worried about
Hmm.
nothing because I didn't care. And so we were the opposite. And my poor brother, he didn't make it. He made it past 25, but not much past 25. So it's very weird how I look back and I think about how our lives were like parallel, but like the never touching kind of like we were so different, but there
Hmm.
was a lot of love there, but my brother didn't make it past 29. And I always had this feeling there would be a young life, but I guess it was my brother's maybe that was feeling. But I just didn't think I would make it past 25. I didn't care. I didn't care. I waited for tsunamis in Waikiki Beach. And the tsunami warning, we would go sit and drink by the Hilton with our beer. I didn't care.
So was it more or less that you were chasing adrenaline and the rush, or were you chasing escape?
I don't know. Honestly, I think I was just running. I mean, think I was just running all the time. A lot of guys would say, "Oh, you have Nikes in the back of your car or something," and I was like, "What?" They're like, "You're always trying to run away. You're always trying to get out, like go do something, get away from me, and get away from someone." I don't know. I think I ran away a lot when I was a kid. I was just a runner. Like I don't know. I think I didn't want to be rejected. Like I felt rejected from. So think I always had that thought in my head, like if your mom doesn't really love you, then how are you lovable? Because moms are supposed to love you more than anybody else.
Oh, yeah. And I think and we'll get into that much later, but I think mine is the opposite. Like I had the chase my dad syndrome, because my dad
Yeah.
was never around and he just kind of like kept me at
Right.
arm's length, just enough to let me know he was alive and he was there, but
Yeah.
never actually in my physical space. So it just made me constantly have that idea of like the chase.
Yeah.
So but then once I got them, like I didn't know what to do with them because I was just like, wait, but you never stay because guys don't stay. So what do I do with you now? And then I did the exact same thing. I would cut and run because I was that whole fear of rejection,
Yes.
crazy sauce.
Yeah. Me first. I'm rejecting you first. Like that was my motto.
Right. Because
Yeah.
it's so much easier to sit there and say, well, I made the choice to leave. I
Yeah.
was the one, that left
Yeah.
first. That way it was easier to I don't know, accept things even if things were good. Like I would break up with boyfriends simply because like I didn't like the color of their shirt that day or something. Like some things I were talking high school stuff, but
Yeah.
it made more sense if I could find something to latch onto for why I didn't like them. And it wasn't because I didn't like them, I just didn't like the idea of what they presented to me because if they were there and they were there for me, why did they like me? Because I didn't even like myself. And there must be something wrong with them because there's definitely something wrong with me. And like your letter was just so raw and real in the sense of just how I that whole idea of that about having to chase it but then not knowing what to do with it when you have it and then finding out when you do have it that it's either toxic or it's boring or whatever. But
Oh,
now that you're
true.
looking back at so I guess my next question on that is like now that you've read it and we're kind of like not I don't know just like kind of like picking it apart and dissecting it we're dissecting it the that those pieces that you have in there about chasing and then not knowing what to do with it once you have it but then running away from it now you when you look at relationships and stuff, do you see it? And I know you said you get really picky, with the kind of person that you would be with if you chose to be with them because the flags and the flags and the flags. But what what do you feel now would be a happy outcome for you?
Oh, wow. I mean, I don't think that's a valid question for me because I feel like I'm already happy. So I know for sure I don't need a relationship to be happy. If one comes,
No, that
that's
is a
fine.
valid question. That's a valid answer though to that.
'Cause I
If you don't
feel,
feel like you need it, then
yeah,
that's a
I feel
valid answer.
I'm happy. I mean, 99% of the time, I'm happy. I love my job. I love what I do on the side. I love traveling. I love my friends. I love you. Like I think that I don't need a happy outcome in the sense that I need a relationship, but I think that the biggest thing that I would look for in another human to be in my life, this is what I look for in any human in my life, but
Yeah,
especially
yeah,
a
okay.
male relationship, is somebody who says what they do and do what they say. Like there's so many people who say that don't
Uh,
have integrity with themselves. And for me, like it's if you're going to have integrity with anybody, but it has to be yourself. Like there's someone I know that constantly says, okay, I'm going to do these, like, let's do hikes every Friday. Da, da, da. I'm going to set it up. Da, da, da. And it never happens. Not even the first one. Or like, I'm going to do, there's someone who says, oh, let's do a juice cleanse. And then it never comes. And then it's like, I mean, I do it anyway by myself, but like, if that's just a friend. And so I distance myself because like, I need people who have integrity with themselves, first of all. Like, it's not even just about me, but then that would be the biggest thing I would look for in a relationship with a guy is somebody who says he's going to do something and he does it mostly for himself. Because the way that you treat yourself is the way that you treat
ooh,
other
yeah.
people. You
Yeah,
know?
let me having yeah, that is also my experience. I think going forward it will just be it would have to definitely be that integrity piece within themselves because I can't tell you how exhaustifying it is to think that you found somebody only to find that their "I will do that" statement is not followed by action because they don't know how to take the action or they're waiting for you to tell them when to take the action. And
Oh,
then when you tell them, you're the nag, you're the issue, you're the problem, whatever. But it's just like, bro, you're the one who said you were going to do it. So, like, if me reminding you of your own intention to do something is a problem, then kick fucking rocks and go find somebody where they will sit there and listen to you wax philosophically about the things that you hope to do someday. But I'm an action person. Like,
yes.
if
Yes.
you, like, I'm going to go to the store. Great. Here are your keys.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to commit to you and be worthy of a commitment to you. Awesome. Where's the ring? Like, make it make sense. If you're going to be intentional with another person, you also have to show that you are intentional with yourself as well. So, like,
Yeah.
what are they doing for themselves? What are they doing to build themselves? Right? The whole building aspect of it. What are they
Yeah.
doing to build themselves? What are they doing to expand themselves? And what are they doing to show up for themselves? Because, like, let me tell you, like, I think the greatest thing about your letter is that it is a no filter, no bullshit take on that rebellious, hot-blooded woman that you were wanting to become, but then also being sidelined by your inability to not see somebody's potential. And I think that's what gets women and men in a lot of trouble in relationships because by your own words in that letter, you're saying like, "Oh, I thought that was love," or "I thought that was love." You see the potential of them. You see what a great match they would have been for you had they been, that person that does what they say or the person that shows up unexpectedly just to be nice and do something nice, not because they expected anything in return, but
Yeah.
because that is the integral piece of who they were. And I think, and I might be reading between the lines a little bit on your letter here, but it just seems like you were in relationships with people that you thought the world of because you could see the world in their eyes and what was possible.
Yeah. Oh, it's
And
possible.
it just didn't materialize because either they couldn't do it or you couldn't force them to do it and it's not your job. So what happened? It broke you down
Yeah. And I think it's
and it
hard
made
when
you struggle.
traumas like there's that song by Eminem with Rihanna with the tornado and the volcano. And when
Oh,
certain people have, yes, you know what I'm talking about? The traumas, like it's like when a tornado meets a volcano, like it's
like a tornado meets a volcano, yeah.
yeah,
A
okay. It's that.
monster, right?
Yeah. I always chose people who had similar traumas. And I think that's okay when you have a friendship. But I think when you try to have a relationship and you both have mom traumas, I think that's the most explosive. And I
Yeah.
think that's what I did a lot is because I identified so deeply with them and we could feel each other's pain. And so when it was good, it was so good because you're both able to like feel that and heal that and help that. But when something triggers the trauma, it usually happens to you at the same time, and then it's explosive. It's like punched walls and choked necks, and I mean, I could tell you ceiling fans coming down out of the wall, front doors coming off their hinges, like, I've seen it all, and I do not for 1 second, please don't ever think that I am just blaming a guy for that. Like, it takes 2, it took 2. I wasn't quiet, I wasn't sitting there. We both had traumas that we didn't heal. We both chose to keep pursuing the relationship, and we're very close friends now, like, very, very close. Probably that's probably the person I would say on the planet that knows me the best. Just can't be together
Mm.
because our traumas are too explosive, but if I had to say there's one person on the planet who knows me the best and then my back is to the wall and I don't know how to make a decision because usually I just trust myself, I'll call him. It's been a couple years, but that's the last person I called when I needed some serious help, especially during COVID.
So you both have gotten to the point now where you're good friends, knowing that you both were in this cause reactionary type of abusive relationship, but that you were able to move past it and actually find friendship in that?
Oh, yeah. Well, we have a child together, so we needed to find friendship, but it didn't even last long how long we didn't get along, honestly. After we got divorced, it was only like a year that
Mhm.
we and I fought each other like crazy people and yelled at each other and stuff. And then after that, we just, yeah, we are, there's a lot of love there. It's just not healthy love when it's together all the time, you know? So
Right.
we talk every few months and it's an important part of my life, important person in my life, but there's never any chance of a romantic relationship coming back. Let's just put it that way. You know, I
No,
think
and I
we're
mean,
meant to be
yeah, if
friends.
you I I will be honest, I'm out of my wheelhouse on that one because there's like I I think I would have a very hard time forgiving. But at the same time I say that, there's been a lot of things that I have forgiven that other people would look at me and go, "What the fuck?" You know? How could you forgive them for that? Well,
Yeah.
again, you're seeing the potential, you're seeing who they could be, and if you are literally the fuse and they're the match, then that makes sense. That, together that doesn't make sense, but away from each other you can, still have a relationship. Honestly, like if you're co-parenting or you were co-parenting in the past, yeah, that's a definite you need that for your kids, but that's a lot. That is a lot.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a lot. I mean, I guess everybody has the things that they find forgivable and not. But for me now, I mean, mostly everything is forgivable because it's really more about me than it is about them. No, it doesn't
So
mean
what
I'm
would you say to somebody who is going through that, like that? Because I mean, obviously there are people who are going to be listening to
yeah.
this and they're hearing us talk about DV in a very like not nonchalant way, but in a way that's like obviously this was in the past, so it's easier to talk about it
Yeah.
now. But
It's way in the
if
past.
there was somebody who was going through that, what do you think the very first thing that they should do once they recognize?
Um, I know some of them, and I obviously I used one of them to get out. Like that's what got me out of the house. And I just highly recommend that you immediately call like the nearest domestic violence hotline shelter and talk to somebody because it's staffed with people that have been through that, staffed with people that have empathy and no judgment. It's just important to recognize that it's like a drug and it's hard to break the cycle because the highs are so high. Like when it's good, it's so good, and when it's bad, it's unfortunate that like it's scary and nobody deserves to be hit, not a man or a woman. I've known some women who have hit men and they don't hit back, and that's not okay either. It's never okay to be somebody's punching bag physically or emotionally or mentally or spiritually or financially. It's never okay to be somebody else's punching bag. And so I think the best thing that you can do for yourself is to call and talk to a domestic violence counselor.
So in your own okay, so in that very first relationship when you started to notice that things were starting to go from super sweet, lovey, romantic stuff, like what was the first sign that this was definitely not a safe place?
Oh, it was the night of my wedding. We got into an argument after the wedding at the party. And I don't remember what happened, but I just remember him. He was a diver. So he had a three-pronged spear and he like let the spear go like right next to me by the wall. And his brother saw it. A couple people saw it. So that's who ended up testifying that it happened like on the wedding night. And there was never violence before that. He would yell and we would fight and stuff. And he
Mhm.
like broke a couple things, but never that. Never like I thought I was gonna die, like feeling. And then he choked me
Yeah.
by my neck. Anyway, then we went on a honeymoon and it was never going to happen again. Da, 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 da. It's the first time I've ever been hit. But I can tell you that was in the 90s and that was before, right around the time Nicole Simpson was killed. And so let's be clear that like before that happened, cops treated women like shit because every time the cops came to our house because somebody called them, they would ask me what I did wrong. Were you cheating on him? Were you doing this? Were you doing that? Every single time the cops gave me shit and made me leave the house.
Wait. So they turned it on you.
Yeah, every single time. And most women I know that it happened to back then. Like there's a lot of people who say like Nicole Simpson was an angel because she made people really aware of what can happen in domestic violence and how bad it can get. And before that, I'm telling you, the cops would turn it on women all the time. Most of the time, women
That's
have the house. Mhm.
that must be a weird. Okay, that I guess I'm really shocked by that. But I mean, I'm shocked, but not completely because I have heard stories, of other women that have gone through that back in like the 80s and 90s. But
I,
my mother was actually her second husband was quite abusive whenever he had too much to drink, and there were multiple times that the cops were called to our home to break up whatever fight was going on, and I guess it was good that they would show up and they would hear him yelling or they would see him throwing something when they showed up. So therefore it wasn't instantly on my mom. Plus my mom worked in law enforcement, so for her it was kind of one of those things where she would talk him down, she would talk the cops into leaving and saying, "Oh, it's fine, he just gets agitated or whatever." But they never turned it on her. They just kind of said, "Okay, if as long as you've got this under control, we can go." But there were a couple really, really big blowups where he just destroyed the entire house. And I don't know if I mean now you're kind of making me wonder like just a little bit if he had not admitted that he was the one that had done all of those things or broke the mirror on the in the hallway or trashed the television or something, would they have centered that on my back on my mom? That's making me wonder now.
yeah,
But
you
anyway,
never know, but it was a
that's
real thing.
horrible. I didn't
Yeah, it was a real thing.
I can't even fathom why that would be the initial assumption that the woman is at fault for that.
So when I finally had enough, of course, I wasn't calling the cops. I remember packing my stuff and walking, or I think I walked over 5 miles in the rain, pouring rain, and went to someone else's house and kind of hid out on another island. I ended up going to another island and hid out for a while because I was like,
That
what's the
is
point of
horrifying.
calling the cops? They're going to blame me anyways. Yeah. Yeah. So it is. Times have
I'm so
changed. So
sorry.
it's okay. It's a long time ago. And yeah, I still see him around once in a great while. So we say hi. I'm good. I'm not. It's so long ago. It's not even funny. It's like a different version of me, you know?
Oh, of course. Well, now I can understand why maybe your younger self wouldn't have even listened to you. You'd be like, "What the fuck
Yeah.
do you know, lady? You're not,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're all love and light. Let me tell you how the freaking dark and cynical I've got going on right
Yeah.
now.
I'm not gonna get
Fuck your
there. Are you
crystals.
crazy?
Fuck your Sedona
Yeah.
sound baths." Yeah.
The only thing I was into back then was the tarot cards because my friend was from France. So I was very into that. So if somebody brought out the cards, maybe it would have said, this is gonna happen to
Mhm.
you. Maybe I would have because I had two really close friends from Saint Tropez and they were really into tarot. So it was really kind of cool. It's probably what started my
Wow.
whole mystical journey.
You don't know what you don't know until you know. And we've been sharing stories and we've been sharing epiphanies and all of the lovely little life nuggets that we've discovered together along the way. And that's a really, really vulnerable thing to be willing to share, especially in such a big platform like what we're about to do. And I just, I'm a little taken back, I'll be honest, because that was so raw and unabashedly just willing to be who you are and what has happened and be your story.
Well,
And
when
I
you
think
asked
that
me, I decided that if I was going to do it, it was going to be real. It was going to be like all of it, all the shit that I don't talk about really, because for the most part, it's a lot of it is healed. Like it doesn't affect me to talk about stuff like that. It's like I said, even if I see that person from my youngest relationship that was like that. We've talked to each other. We've
Mhm.
said hi, like, I don't have any ill feelings at all. And so I don't talk about it. I listen more, I think, than I talk about myself to other people. And, but I wasn't going to do this without being real. And if it helps even just one person, that's enough for me.
Well, that is an amazing take to I think that's what there's a old Jewish saying that if you save one life, you save the world, but if you take one life, you damage the world or something like that. And I think that the more stories we tell, the more people we try to save just by the fact of us showing up and telling a story from our perspective or somebody else's perspective. I think we lift the world and we lift women and men up to understand each other better and where we're coming from. The experiences of everything. And that's what our ancestors used to do. They used to sit around a fire and tell each other all of these survival stories, not for the sense of like, here, let me throw all this trauma at you. It's here, this is how you survive the world without getting burned. And I'll be honest, like when we started this whole thing and I was like, yeah, let's write letters to ourselves. I know at 20, I was struggling with like me syndrome. And I mean, struggling in the sense of I had no boundaries. I would show up as myself, but then I would chameleon because I, yeah, that whole like me syndrome is awful because you don't know what your place in the world is. Even at 45, I'm still learning how to do all of the boundaries things. I've gotten better. I have. I'm much better than I was before. But I think it took a lot of hard life experiences to get me there to where I was like, "Oh, yeah, that doesn't feel good anymore. I don't want to feel this way anymore." I know that there are other people out there that struggle with this and like I'm friends with some of them. And I just look at them sometimes and go, why are you doing this extra thing you don't have to do? Why are you allowing this person to talk to you that way? You have the opportunity to say no. I believe that was even a part in your letter where you're just like, no is a whole sentence, like that's an all stop. But when we started this journey, I honestly thought that I was ready. Like I could write this letter. It's not a big deal. I could totally do that. And the more that I think about where I was at 20, it was not easy. I sat here for a couple of months staring at this blank Google Doc going, okay, I've got this. I know exactly what to say. And I would get a couple of sentences down and I couldn't do it. But now after like hearing your letter, it's just that understanding and connectedness of everything. And that page is not so intimidating anymore. I feel like your letter confronted so many things. It's not just about love and abuse, it's about self love. And it's also about your spiritual journey and worthiness, healing, that inner guidance system versus the outer guidance system that led you astray. The beach is where you return to, the beach is where you were at, the beach is your lifeline and your love line. So I feel that when we get to my letter, it's very much going to be along the same vein, but it's more or less going to be like, hey world, this is me, all wrinkle scars and all. I feel like confronting that page is actually going to be more empowering than I thought it was going to be. Because at first I was really intimidated and scared shitless, to be honest. And I don't know why, because it's just talking to myself. But I think that there are things we tend to gloss over when we're chasing things rather than having a final destination in mind. So that's interesting.
I think it's all the journal writing too that I do. And I did a lot of prompts in Costa Rica. When I spent that 8 days in Costa Rica, I think that really helped me write my letters. I think I healed, like finished healing a lot of things that I was working on healing.
So your 8 days in Costa Rica. Now you have to now that you've said it, we're gonna do a later episode about this for sure, for sure. But what were the 8 days in Costa Rica about?
An ayahuasca retreat and that yoga and ayahuasca and jungle and beautiful souls coming together. And oh my God, it was magical. It was like really magical, really, really magical.
And you feel like that helped you evolve on your journey, or did it just like help put you onto the next thing?
I think it was twofold. I think it helped me finish finally healing some things that little Debbie needed to heal. I think it helped wrap some of those things up like all the way, especially really the aspect of forgiveness and like that we are one connection. And I know that because I fully believe we are one, that they're healing. Like the forgiveness has to just start being automatic for a lot of things, you know? And I think that I'm really lucky because I learned that from children. And everybody always asks me, oh, how do you help so many kids in the community that you work in? And because honestly, they've made me a better human and they've taught me more than I've taught them. And so forgiveness is a really huge one. And I think that journey helped me with the closure on forgiveness in Costa Rica. And I think that it also like made it cleared out a path forward for bigger and better and brighter things. And and there's one more thing I want to say about my letter and about something that you said a few minutes ago that I think it would be really important not to say this and then we can move on
Okay.
here. But I think that you asked me about addressing like if a woman was in that situation right now, but I also think it's really important to address a man who might be in that situation right now because I think that
For
men
sure.
who are abusing somebody, there is a really big part of them that doesn't want to be abusive. And so they get mad at themselves and then they get angry and then they do it again. And the self-hatred becomes really big for them. So I think if there's men in that situation that are abusing a woman, or even a woman who is abusing a man, I think it's really important for them to reach out for help too. And I think there's like, I want them to know that there's also a lot of people out there with no judgment because I've counseled a lot of boys who have hit their girlfriends and who have been in that situation and worked with them on anger management. And so I don't think there should be any shame around that either and getting help. And you know, that's probably the thing that made my marriage when we got divorced, it made it heal faster because he said to the judge the first time that it got crazy and he went to court. He told the judge, like, I did it. I don't bring her in here. She don't need to testify. Don't make her go through anything. I'm gonna take my time and eat it like a man because I put my hands on her and I wish I didn't. And I think that was like the biggest stepping stone to make me want to even find forgiveness in him in whatever way that it happened. But he did a year in jail. He ate that time and he changed a lot because of it. He wasn't perfect, but it's okay to ask for help even if you're a man. It's okay to say that I shouldn't and I don't want to do these things. But you can start to heal yourself and your trauma as a man. And there's people out there who will not judge you and who will listen to you. So I think it goes both ways.
No, I think it's incredibly important to put that in there because you've got the rise of the podcast bros out here telling young men, especially really young men, that women are property. Women are meant to be subdued or submissive to them. And if they cannot find a woman that's willing to do that, then to go younger and find somebody who's willing to be manipulated into that position. Find that abhorrent and I find it horrible to give that kind of advice to somebody. You're literally stating to another human being to enslave them emotionally, physically, and all for the sake of somehow being paid off with love and a commitment. That's not that's not a relationship. That is a situationship with a physical, oh, you know,
Yeah.
overcast to it where it's more threat than it is love. It is more control than it is love.
Yeah.
And you definitely have this other thing you like you said earlier about like being woke or whatever, but it's not woke to be in touch with your emotions and
Yeah.
understanding that your emotions have everything to do with the why you act the way you do.
Hmm.
And once people tap into the root issue of why they react or why they don't act, is literally in response to their central nervous system being able to regulate or dysregulate, operate in a way that is not chaotic or any of the above. It's awful. We should not be letting boys or men be programmed to the belief that women are nothing but property. That is awful.
Well,
But
I
yes,
think that Cassie Ventura will be the modern day Nicole Simpson. She's going to lead people out of.
absolutely.
God bless her for coming
Absolutely.
forward and speaking her truth on a stand. She's filled with courage and hope for a lot of people because I think she's a modern day. What Nicole Brown Simpson did for me, I think that Cassie Ventura will do for a lot of people.
Well, not only that, but she has the perfect example of a man who stands by his woman and understands that her past has nothing to do with him and does not reflect on him. It does not say anything less about him because she was put through a bad situation with a bad partner. And all of these men in these comment sections with these videos of her testimony or the ones who are discussing her testimony, like I've seen it, it's disgusting. All over TikTok, it's like, oh, well, I couldn't be with somebody who'd gone through something like that, or I couldn't be with somebody who was willing and able to join in on a freak off or whatever. And I'm just like, these are probably the same men who exaggerate about their body count and call that a win, but a
Right.
woman's body count is against her in some way.
Yeah,
I
they're
don't
probably
think
all
so.
about cheating and you know what they say about judging. One finger's pointing at somebody, three fingers pointing back at you, baby. Stop judging.
Correct.
It's her story. It's a
Judgment
beautiful
is the
story.
worst.
And I'm so grateful she's willing to share it with everybody and help people. She's helping so many people with that.
I just have a couple more questions for you based on your letter, and then we will put it to bed and we will discuss another letter another time. So, going back to the idea
Yep.
of you showing up to your younger self as future you, what do you feel
You,
that you could have said that she would have listened to? And it could be about anything. But like what is one thing that you feel like you would have listened to yourself about at all?
I think, I don't know, maybe I think if if my future self wouldn't have tried to give me the outcome, it makes me think you're making me think about that song by Garth Brooks, The Dance. Like
Oh,
I
yeah.
wouldn't want to had known how it was gonna end. You know? I would have just wanted to someone to say, like, "You're gonna keep dancing." It's you know, things are gonna happen, it's gonna be really, really hard, but you're gonna get through it, and that's it. Like, I wouldn't have wanted to know things. I think about that song a lot, and I don't really love country music a lot, but I love that song because I think it's so real. Like, I'm not the person who wants to know the ending because I want it to happen, like, organically. And so I think if my future self might have come and said, "Hey, you're gonna keep dancing. You know, you're gonna get past 25. You're gonna have a whole life. You're gonna be like the old lady who lived in a shoe with so many kids she didn't know what to do because there's so many, you know, kids who I help." I think that might have been enough for me just to have that like little like infomercial, a tiny commercial. But I wouldn't have
Yeah.
wanted to know any more than that. Like I would want to be surprised, you know? I
Oh.
feel like there's only so many times in life when you can actually be 100% fully surprised.
Was there ever a mistake that you personally made that ultimately led to something better? Even though at the time it felt like, oh, that's it, my world is over, but it ended up being or leading you to something much better.
Every mistake I made was a fall forward, you know, in some way or another. Yeah, I mean, I've been through a lot of stuff, like a lot, like more than I've shared here. And but it was all important when I think about conversations that I've had to have or ways of being that I've needed to feel like healing situations, helping people, just knowing when to just listen and when to give advice and when to not say anything at all. I feel like every single mistake that I made was a fall forward.
That is a really good way to look at things. I always go back to the idea that everything is meant to be a lesson or it was meant to be a temporary. You know, like and I guess I could expand on that way deeper, but it's just I feel that lately, especially when I look back at past events on things, the why, right? Why did that have to happen? Why did it have to happen? How do you see that now? Like now that you've written that letter to yourself and you can see her from farther away
Mhm.
standpoint and you can appreciate the adrenaline rush, the relationship rushes, the relationship crashes, all of those things.
I mean, just every little karmic thing that has come back. So
Mhm.
every little freaking thing that has happened to me has like literally karmically played back out in my life in some way that I needed to use it. So yeah, no regrets.
That's a good way to put it. That is a lovely way to put it. Okay. Well, is there anything else that you would impart to somebody listening to this right now?
I mean, just please love yourself. Like, I wish it didn't take me so long to love myself. That's for sure. I mean, if anything I could change was that I would have loved myself a little sooner because I didn't love myself in my 20s. Only when I started to see myself through my children's eyes, maybe started to love myself. But should be able to love yourself through your own eyes. And I wish that for everybody. So if there's anything I could say, first thing you want to do is start to love yourself.
How do you think people could do that? If they're struggling right now, if they're looking in the mirror and they're just like, there is absolutely nothing that I love about this right now.
Oh,
What is something you
no.
feel?
I just want to channel Lisa Nichols. My God, she has this exercise, and I wish I could. You look at yourself in the mirror every day. I want to say it's like 28 days. I can look it up. But you tell yourself 7 things I'm proud of, 7 things I forgive yourself. Oh, yes. Okay. This is the jam. Okay. If you don't listen to Lisa Nichols, she's the most powerful, inspirational woman I've ever listened to in my life. And she has an exercise that I did. And you say these 3 sentences 7 times each with different answers. I'm proud of you. I'm proud that you, so it'd be like, Debbie, I'm proud that you got your master's degree. And you say, so 7 different things you're proud of. And then 7 things you forgive yourself for. Forgive you for, I forgive you for staying in a relationship too long. Whatever it is, that's the part that brought me to my knees, literally on the ground crying every time I said those 7 things I forgive myself for. And then you say that things that you're going to commit to. 7 things I commit to. So I commit to eating healthy foods and treating my body like a spiritual vessel, like whatever 7 things that you are proud of yourself for, 7 things you forgive yourself for, and 7 things that you commit to yourself to, and do it every day for 21 days in the mirror, looking at yourself. You're going to fall in love with yourself. I promise you. Do that. I think that's the first thing
That's
to do.
incredible.
Yeah. Lisa Nichols, credit her. She's amazing. She's so amazing.
So really talk to yourself, invest in yourself, speak life into yourself, remind yourself of all of the amazing things that there is still about you to love.
Yeah. Put up post-its everywhere that says, I am enough. I am worthy. I am good. I am beautiful. All the things. Put up post-its all over your house.
I can attest because one time I came to visit you in Hawaii and you had post-its all over your bathroom mirror
Yeah.
and then a couple on your fridge. And I think there was even one on the
At the door.
wall, like right before, yeah, by the door, like right next to the door, right before you left. So it was like this little love letter to yourself every time you left, every when you came home. I thought that was so sweet.
That's some real talk right there.
It is. It really is. It's like, it's that whole thing. If you can't love you, then who else can, So train yourself to love yourself. That's a great way to bring that love back into your body.
Your love. Well, that was so fun, as per usual.
Yeah. Okay. Well, next time on our podcast, you will get to hear my letter and then you can help me dissect all of the awfulness that was living in my head at 20. So that'll be fun.
It will be. Because that awfulness turned you into something beautiful, like a recipe. Beautiful cake.
Did you ever see that episode of Friends where Rachel tries to make a dessert for Thanksgiving and she makes a trifle, but it's part
Oh, I think I
trifle,
saw.
part shepherd's pie or something? So the whole premise is nobody's checking on her and she's just making this thing until Ross and Joey go over and they see that she's accidentally made the recipe of 2 different recipes because the pages had been stuck together. So she made
Sweet and
half a
savory,
raspberry
right?
trifle. Yes, sweet and savory. And Joey's like, meat, good. Strawberries, raspberries, good. Like he just loved it. Yeah, I am a crazy amalgamation of Rachel's trifle with beef and peas.
I love
But with the
you.
sweet and salty center. Okay,
Oh,
well, thank
God.
you so much for listening to us and coming along with us on our journey. We will definitely have more to come. And I just think if you want more, join us for future episodes. Please write your letters and send them to us at dear20yearoldme@gmail.com. It could be about anything. We're talking relationships, financial ships, friends, parents, children, like all of the things. We want to dig into everybody's stories because stories are what help us learn, help us connect, help us be better humans.
And if you're 20, send us your questions.
Absolutely. We would love to be your 40-year-old something aunties and older sisters.
Yes.
We've done the parenting thing. We're aunties and sisters are they'll give you the unfiltered shit. They'll give you the unfiltered stuff more. And then take you for a drink afterward.
If you're 21.
Anyway, see you next time on Dear 20-Year-Old Me.